You are tuned into a special player spotlight interview on the CS Podcast.
The CS Podcast presented by the NUC NFL Draft Bible, bringing you the names that you need to know first. Since 2002, visit NFLDraftBible.com. As always, I'm your guys' host, Chris Shanafelt. And joining the show now for a player spotlight interview is probably one of the more underrated prospects that'll be entering the 2016 NFL Draft. He's defensive tackle out of Campbell University. He's Greg Milhouse. Now, Greg, I appreciate you taking some time this afternoon. With your collegiate career officially behind you, I mean, is it bittersweet at all? I mean, I know you're certainly looking forward to the future, but is there any part of you that's going to miss the college game or the college experience as a whole?
Definitely. It's a great experience here at Campbell and just playing college football in general. It's definitely going to be missed. A lot of great relationships with my teammates, my coaches, and just going out there on Saturday really is just going to be missed.
And for Greg, for those who may not know, you actually spent your first 2 years of college football at Appalachian State. And you didn't miss a single game. You played in all 24 games there. Can you just talk about why you ultimately made the decision to transfer to Campbell University? And looking back now, I mean, what would you say is the biggest difference between playing at Appalachian State and playing at Campbell?
The reason I left, after my freshman year, the head coach was let go. We got a new defensive coordinator and a new defensive line coach. My sophomore year, I played mainly just pass rush situations. And after that year, I just really felt like it was time for me to get a fresh start. And with me transferring, with App State going to the FBS, there was a lot of loopholes and stuff like that with a lot of the FCS schools I was looking at. And with Campbell being in the PFL, I would be able to play right away. And then just playing for Coach Minner with his 10 years of experience in that league, it was just unbeatable. So that's why I ultimately chose Campbell. The biggest difference for me, honestly, Campbell does a great job in the SCS. Everything's top-notch here, so it's really no knock. Probably just the biggest difference would be just overall competitiveness within the team, because going against guys at App State, you're going against Ronald Blair and people like that every day. It brings out the best of you and really pushes you. And here you have to really be self-motivated and push yourself, because me being at Campbell, not knocking anybody, but just being the better player here, was nobody really competing with me, so I had to compete against myself.
And again, you spent the last 2 years at Campbell University, your first two at Appalachian State. Focusing a little bit on your senior season of yours, Greg, I mean, what were your individual expectations heading into this season?
Ultimately, I wanted to win a PFL championship. That didn't work out how we wanted it to, but I just wanted to be the best player every down and really just elevate my game and show everybody the real Greg Milhouse. My junior year, I broke my ankle the fourth game of the season. I didn't know that. They told me it was sprained, so I was playing on that. And it was really just a disappointing year for myself, because I knew what I can give out on the field, and I just wasn't able to give that. So this senior season, just God blessed me with good health and just ultimately showing that I was the best defensive player in the conference.
And I think it was certainly an impressive showing out of you this season, Greg. I mean, again, you're fourth on your team in tackles with 48. Obviously, as a defensive lineman, a defensive tackle, that right there kind of stands out alone. You're tied first on the team with 11.5 tackles for loss, and third in sacks with 5. Now, obviously, you, like you said, I mean, you would have loved to, win conference. You would have loved to add a few more victories in the win column, as the Campbell Camels ended the season 5-6. But ultimately, I mean, how would you this season of yours, and would you say that you're satisfied with the way you were able to produce?
Yes, sir, definitely. I mean, this season, I just was able to cherish every moment, really enjoy the ride, just all the ups and the downs, and really just become a stronger man through the ups and the downs. And really just, I was very satisfied with my play. I mean, of course, I'm my toughest judge about my play, so I'm real hard on myself, but ultimately I felt like I had a great season and really just showed all my tools and everything I got.
Absolutely. Now, I can't even lie to you, Greg. I mean, it wasn't until last season when I really kind of put my eye on the Campbell's football team. And, of course, entering this season, I was pretty familiar with yourself. But again, I can't even lie. I mean, the team really is you guys have a lot of talent on that team. Again, the FCS team. I mean, there's a ton of talent in the FCS, and you certainly proved that yourself. Now, another guy that caught my attention was number 2 on that D-line. Now, I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name because I know I'll butcher it. But, I mean, talk about how your game complements his and how his game complements yours on that defensive line because, this past season, you two were pretty dominant.
Yes, sir. His how to pronounce his name is Ugonna Arunye. And
there you
he's
go.
from Nigeria. But, I mean, he's as far as athletically, he's a freak. I mean, 6'5", 260 pounds, and he can move on his feet and stuff like that. But just how we were complimenting each other was I was able to push the pocket, and he was able to set the edge. So just going back and forth like that, and a lot of the times we played on the same side. So that would eliminate a lot of the double teams for either one of us. So it was it was a real blessing to be able to play with him. We compete with each other a lot. If he do something, I gotta go do it right back. Before I do something, he gotta do it right back. So it's just a real brotherhood right there as far as the competing. And we were able to talk about things off the field, able to watch film with each other and stuff like that. So I mean, it was just a real joy to play with him. I mean, he's a beast.
And again, I mean, probably one of the, if not the top, certainly one of the top D tackle, D end duos in all of the FCS. Again, he's Greg Milhouse, the standout defensive tackle out of Campbell University, joining me here on the CS podcast presented by the NUC NFL Draft Bible, bringing you the names that you need to know first since 2002. Visit NFLDraftBible.com. Now, Greg, a couple of years ago, I was able to interview your head coach, Mike Minter. And you mentioned it. I mean, it sounds as if his experience in the NFL certainly had something to do with your decision to go with to go to Campbell and play football for the Camels. I mean, what was it like to be coached by somebody who was once where you ultimately want to be at in the NFL? I mean, again, Mike Minter played 10 years in Carolina, and although he technically never was an all-pro, he sure played like one. So, again, I mean, what was it like to play under a former NFL player in Mike Minter, and has he given you any advice as you look to pursue a professional football career?
Oh, yes, sir. I mean, really, it was just a blessing in disguise. At first, I mean, I really didn't realize how much knowledge he could give me, but, I mean, throughout the 2 years I've been here, the knowledge has just been unbelievable. As far as the season, he's always preparing me through the mental aspect of the game, and because my D-line coach Adams, he does a great job of preparing me on the football side, but Coach Mint just an unbelievable job of preparing me in my mind and just knowing what it takes, knowing what I got to do extra, always preparing for the next step. So even throughout the season, we were focused on the season, but he knew that I had a chance at the next level, so he was preparing me for that too. So it was just a true blessing, just the lessons he learned, and he taught me the same lessons he's learned, and I mean, it was an unbelievable experience.
Absolutely, and seeing what he's been able to do there with that football program certainly looks like he has a promising future there at Campbell. I mean, seeing talent like yourself and your fellow defensive end running mate Ugonna. I hope I didn't butcher his name there, but seeing seeing you two guys come out and certainly, the hype train will be running here within. I mean, if it's not already running, it's certainly going to be running here as we get closer and closer to the 2016 NFL Draft. And Greg, a couple of weeks ago, you made a pretty big announcement on Twitter, and that was that you accepted your invite to the NFLPA Bowl, which is one of the top all-star games in all the nation. I mean, what was your reaction when you got that invite, and how quickly did it take you to accept it?
Really, it was just surreal. I mean, truly blessed and truly honored. That was one of my goals at the beginning of the season, was to get invited to one of the marquee all-star games because, I mean, people just naturally have that the level of competition we're playing against is not as good as the big schools, and you might be able to do this against these guys, but can you do it against that? So really, it was just a chip on my shoulder, and I'm just ready to go prove myself that I can do the same things at that level too with the bigger school guys. the FBS guys. But again, it was just truly a blessing and an honor, and it really just, it was lost for words, really.
Yeah, I mean, again, one of the top all-star games in the nation. And, again, the NFLPA Bowl game will be played January 23rd. So we're now less than 2 months away until you get to go head-to-head with some of the best in the country. Now, Greg, let's say you're standing with a scout, you're talking with a scout, and you're able to point out one thing, one part of your game. What are you going to tell that scout to look out for? I mean, in other words, what do you feel is your biggest strength as a defensive lineman?
I feel like my biggest strength is the ability to use my hands. My hands are always extended. I'm always my body out of the offensive lineman and just able to do different pass rush moves and stuff like that with very strong hands, very strong punch. So I would say my hands are the strongest part of my game.
All right. Again, he's 2016 NFL draft prospect Greg Milhouse out of Campbell University here on the CS podcast, presented by the NUC NFL Draft Bible. And, Greg, just a few more questions for you, and then I'll let you go. I really do appreciate your time. How do you feel about the small school tag? I mean, coming from Campbell, I mean, there's some guys that embrace that small school tag. There's some guys that embrace the fact that they're coming from a small school, and it gives them an added chip on their shoulder. And then there's other guys that kind of try to hide away from it, not really mention their school or whatever the reason may be. But how do you look at the small school tag when it comes to Greg Milhouse, Campbell University?
Well, first of all, I think it's an honor often these guys get overlooked for such just for my name to be in discussion. I think it's an honor. But it just definitely puts a natural chip on your shoulder every time you go work out, every time you're playing. You're not only competing against the guys in the FBS, but you're competing against the guys in the FBS. So just a natural chip, just always wanting to prove yourself. So just natural self-motivation and stuff like that. So, I love the challenge that I'm about to go up against and just looking forward to it.
And obviously nothing's guaranteed. You are going to be playing in one of the top all-star games. It certainly looks as if your dream is coming closer and closer. But when did you realize that there might be a shot that, you have what it takes to play in the NFL? I mean, was there a moment that you could recall that kind of opened your eyes and said, man, you know what, maybe I really do have a shot at, playing at the next level?
At the beginning of camp, the Dallas Cowboys had came like the first week of camp, and he was able to watch my film from last year and stuff like that, and he was just telling me some stuff I needed to work on this year, and at that moment I really realized like I kind of caught his attention. This could really blow up, and then just throughout the season with all 32 teams coming and stuff like that, I was like, whoa, this blew up out of nowhere and stuff like that. But I can't lie, it's been my dream as a little kid to play in the NFL. So I've always had that expectation of myself. So everything I've been doing for the past 4 years has ultimately been to achieve that dream. So.
Well, for those who may not be too familiar with your game, Greg, again, coming from a smaller school, if you would compare yourself to somebody currently playing in the NFL, who do you think that would be and why?
I like Sheldon Richardson. He's an athletic big guy. He can rush the passer, stop the run, makes big plays when his number's called. Not really off the field stuff, but definitely the on the field stuff for Sheldon Richardson.
Hey, there you go. And you definitely cannot go wrong with the on-the-field Sheldon Richardson. Definitely one of the better young defensive tackles in the NFL. Definitely one of the better defensive tackles in general in the National Football League. Again, just a couple more questions for you, Greg, and then I'll let you go. Now, let's say 5-10 years from now, what will be the one play that pops out in your mind first? What's the most memorable play that you've made throughout your collegiate career? Is there any specific one that stands out?
Against San Diego, we needed to get the offense the ball back. It was about 2 minutes on the clock. Third down, and I was able to come up with a big sack, and that was probably one of my most joyous moments in my college career.
All right, and final question for you, Greg. Again, your time is very greatly appreciated. Let's say there's an NFL general manager listening to this very interview. Why should he want defensive tackle out of Campbell University, Greg Milhouse, a part of his team?
First and foremost, I'm going to do the right things off the field I'm going to do everything the coach asks me plus more. I'm going to work extremely hard. I'm going to give my maximum effort. If he tells me to do something, I'm going to get it achieved. Great person in the locker room, a leader, and really just hard working.
And you can't beat that. Well said. And, Greg, we've been connected for a little while now. Definitely a pleasure to finally chat with you. Thanks for taking some time this afternoon, and definitely wishing you the best throughout this process. And, of course, good luck in the NFLPA Bowl on January 23rd.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on the show.